for the battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we've got Bob Savage with us.
We indeed do. That would be me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Bob, you were telling me just before we jumped on the air here that today is Victory Over Japan Day.
Yeah, the official VJ Day. A lot of people classify the end of World War II as when the Japanese surrendered, which was after the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August. But it wasn't official until the signing of the Instrument of Surrender on board the battleship USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. That took place today, 75 years ago. September 2nd, 1945, and at that time, President Truman declared September 2nd to be the official VJ Day. A lot of controversy over the years, too, about of course, the dropping of the atomic bomb. But I think I just want to pass along a couple quick paragraphs here to folks so that they appreciate why that decision was taken. On August 15th and 16th, which would be after the two atomic bombs had been dropped, Japanese soldiers started to commit suicide. Well over 100 American POWs were murdered. In addition, many Australian and British prisoners of war were murdered in Borneo at both Ranau and Sandakan by the Imperial Japanese Army. At Batu Lintang Camp, also in Borneo, death orders were found proposing the murder of 2,000 POWs and civilian internees on September 15th, 1945, but the camp was liberated 4 days before these orders were due to be carried out. Before the bombs were dropped, Allied commanders had marshaled 750,000 troops for a ground invasion of Japan, giving the increasingly bloody fight-to-the-death resistance of Japanese forces. The closer Allied troops came to the home islands at Okinawa and Iwo Jima, the universal kamikaze resistance, which had been ordered to any invasion, which included women, children, and the elderly, and the spirit expressed by the pre-invasion song, 100 Million Souls for the Emperor. It was anticipated that as many as a third of the Allied invasion force, remember that's 750,000, would not survive or would not come back whole. The war itself was expected by U.S. commanders to last until late 1946 or even 1947. Hence, even though in President Truman's words, the atomic bomb was, quote, the most terrible thing ever discovered, the chilling cost of failing to use it made its use necessary. So 75 years ago, folks, great valor on the part of our troops.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good and important to just stop and reflect on that part of history. So, yeah.
War is hell, you know.
No, it's not a good thing, you know. And sometimes I hear people talk about civil war in our country, and they talk about civil war is brewing and it could be that's a possibility. The further the left and right divide the nation, and the media just really kind of drives that wedge with all sorts of different issues, that could be the case. But I always try to caution people and say, hey, especially those that feel really zealous and seem to be excited about it. They're excited to see a civil war happen in our nation. And I tell them, I say, talk to somebody who's been in war. Look at the history books. Look at the pictures of the aftermath. I really hope that our nation doesn't have to go through something like that, because it would be terrible. It would be devastating. People's homes, families, lives ripped apart. War is one of those things that it'd be really nice to not have.
Yeah, we've tried everything we possibly can think of in recent modern history to head off war. And I think it's just kind of in human nature. I think you always have some people who just have to control and oppress others. There's reasons behind that we could talk about for the next 3 or 4 hours, which you don't have and I don't either. But basically, I think lots of times it comes down to lack of talent or initiative, so it has to be stolen from someone else who needs to be repressed. It's the same instinct that propels people to rob other people. And so ideologically, that's the kind of thing that happens on the world stage. And human history, if you look at it, is just this constant cycle of repression, and then rebellion, and then the establishment of some kind of a people's government which protects freedoms to some degree, but that just sets the stage for the next cycle of authoritarian repression and resulting war. And I don't know where that comes from. I guess it's because there are good people and there are evil people in the world.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And it always seems to be that selfish people who really love power find themselves in that position. They've got that I guess that drive, that aspiration, and that's their goal, and somehow they find themselves there based on that.
For my money, what I always look for, the signal that I look for to find out whether somebody is coming from an evil place or not, is the absence of truth, or or to kick it up another notch, willful deceit, where you're being lied to. When people tell lies, lies are evil, and I'm trying to look objectively at what anybody who wants to wield authority and power over others in our country at the state, federal, or local, at those levels, just look for lies. Look for things that are clearly not true, that are obviously that don't make sense. We've been giving a lot of this lately, and I think people have just about had it.
Yeah, yeah, and you don't have to look very far to
No,
find the lies.
we
I
all
mean,
know what we're talking about here, folks. I
yeah.
mean, yeah, I mean, look at the burning of the cities and the stupid things that we're told that we have to believe, and those who want to shut down freedom of expression, and people who want to forcibly impose their ideas on others. These are the deceivers. These are those that we do not want to give power to, and we must not give power to in November.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to emphasize too that sometimes I feel it's really easy for us to look at kind of those top of the ticket people who are doing this, talk about, presidential, governor, that sort of thing. But there are a lot of other people that we need to be looking at just as skeptically. Your town council people, your city council people, your county legislative, county exec, your judges, they're going to make decisions in courts. Even people on your zoning board who are going to determine what you can and cannot do with your home. All of these things. You need to be asking yourself the same question. I know sometimes people get really stuck into the idea of, well, it's this person who's running this thing. But there's a lot of local issues that do the same thing. They take away your freedoms, they take away your liberties, different ordinances and things that gets passed. You really, really gotta pay attention to that stuff. Otherwise, you wake up one morning and there's just a little less freedom there for you.
Or in some cases, a lot less. Yeah, and actually, you bring up an excellent point, and that is the place where you can really affect the biggest change by direct action is in local elections. That's why you really have to, I know you want to watch America's Got Talent, but what you really need to be doing is get out of the Barca Lounger and go down to the town board meeting or the zoning board meeting. This is where the decisions that are made that most impact your life. And these are the people that you can most effectively campaign against. It's really hard to get a member of Congress to do something for you. If you're not connected, if you're not, to have a lobbyist who's speaking for you, and let's face it, individuals don't. We're the one constituency that national politicians have that is not represented by lobbyists. All we have, the only real leverage that we have is our votes.
Yeah,
And we know what the participation rate is in national elections. It's not good, especially when you're talking about national offices, for Congress or for Senate, and there's a primary involved. I mean, those turnouts are laughably low. So get involved in government and start making especially the school board. Oh my gosh, school boards. The public schools are out of control. They really are. The dopey curricula and the lies that the kids are being force fed. I mean, these educrats are turning our kids into little automatons with this indoctrination conveyor belt that they're running. So get involved in your kids' school. Know what they're being taught. It's vitally important.
yeah, and kind of like what we were talking about, going to these meetings. It's not like a sexy, fun thing to do, but you got to carve the time out on a Tuesday night or a Thursday night. Get out there, go talk to these people, talk about what they're doing, and let them know if they're not doing the right thing, you're going to vote them out. Because if you don't, who will? Guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Escape from the everyday to a getaway at Woodcliff Hotel and Spa. Woodcliff features elegantly appointed accommodations, creative cuisine, themed suites, full-service spa Elan, and is Rochester's best venue for outdoor wedding receptions overlooking the city skyline. Woodcliff Hotel and Spa, where the experience is extraordinary. Located in Fairport, call 585-381-4000 or visit woodcliffhotelspa.com.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. Got Bob Savage here with us. And Bob, I don't know if you know this or not, but Cuomo sent a SWAT team to contain COVID at a college campus. Did you hear
Good.
about this?
Oh my gosh! Finally, at last. I mean, these college kids are maniacs. They're going to kill all of us because, I mean, as you know, I mean, Andy said it himself. If you don't wear a mask, you could kill someone.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's about time somebody stepped up and told these little beer swilling snowflakes on campuses that they have to start wearing masks and stop being college kids. Here he is.
You don't wear a mask for yourself. You wear a mask to protect me.
That's right.
I wear a mask to protect you.
That's okay.
You could literally kill someone because you didn't want to wear a mask.
There it is.
There you go.
I mean, he knows. I mean, this is our dear leader.
Yep. So I mean, all this time, Cuomo's been talking about taking action. Now apparently we can combat COVID with a SWAT team. I didn't know that we could do this.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
So why haven't we been doing it? We should have just sent SWAT teams all over the state. COVID would have been set in a week, good to go. Yeah, no, this is crazy. I mean, it reads almost like a fake news article. It's actually a press release from the governor's website.
Oh, by the way, did you happen to see the picture? Is an online picture of him out walking a dog with no mask on, and he's standing 4 feet from some woman who is wearing a mask.
Yeah, this whole entire government response to COVID is frustrating on so many levels, but definitely one of the things that tops it for me is high-level government officials like Governor Cuomo who are saying this is what you must do, and then turning around and doing something totally the opposite, and then just kind of not even really making up excuses, not even acknowledging that he's not following his own recommendations, he's not following his own rules. It is rules for us, not rules for the elite, and you saw that with the VMA.
Yeah, well, that's what we call hypocrisy, and again, hearkening back to the first segment of this program when we talked about if you want to know where evil lives, look for lies. Lies are that's the advancing in the vanguard of evil. You always find lies being muscularly imposed, and so hypocrisy is a form of that. So when it's Nancy Pelosi can get her hair done, and she can do whatever she wants to do in her personal life. And you got the Governor Cuomo, one set of rules for you, one set of rules for the elites who support me. That's hypocrisy, and that's evil.
Yeah, and it's just the people of New York should demand better. That I think is very important. The people of New York should call this out for what it is and say, stop enforcing things that you won't do yourself. That plain and simple. I see Garrett here on YouTube actually mentioned that he also sent a SWAT team to Chautauqua County because there was an outbreak at a food producer. So it seems that this isn't the first time Cuomo has done this. And it's pretty interesting here. I just wanted to share with you guys the information because they publish this very proudly on the governor's website, saying that he deployed a SWAT team to SUNY Onyata to contain a COVID-19 cluster that is developed there. Yeah,
let's be really clear about this for a minute. If you're thinking that there's like 200 kids, I think it's about that now on SUNY Onyata. If you're thinking there's 200 sick kids, who are like in the hospital or in the college infirmary or whatever, and they're on IV fluids and stuff, they're not even sick. They're asymptomatic. They just tested positive.
Yeah, that's the thing.
No hospitalizations, no deaths. There's no real problem here. It's just this. Whenever you hear the term cases, oh my gosh, cases are exploding on college campuses. No, what that means is tests are showing positives. The positive test result nationally for COVID is 1.33% as of yesterday. 1.33%.
Yeah. So here's what's coming to this college campus, or already came. 71 contact tracers, 8 case investigators, and they're opening up a 3 free rapid testing site Or no, 3. Okay, they just put a comma in a weird place. They're opening up 3 testing sites in the city, and they'll give you your results within 15 minutes. So here's the thing. That's great and everything. That they're opening up the testing sites. That's only going to increase the positive result numbers, which we know that's just what's going to happen here. But I don't know how many students actually tested positive. But can you imagine what this is going to cost us? 71 contact tracers, 8 case investigators, and a SWAT team of unknown size. What this is going to cost the taxpayers, and also, is it going to be effective? And the answer is no. It's not going to be effective. If anything, this just feels like another media stunt by the governor.
Well, of course it is. And he relishes this control that he has over us, that he's using COVID, of course, obviously, as the vehicle by which he imposes all these ridiculous, arbitrary rules like 5% levels on college campuses. You know, where did that number come from? I suspect it's probably pulled out of thin air. And now, I don't know if you noticed this in the news coverage this morning, now he's promulgating rules about hay rides. And apple picking and other fall activities in upstate New York. We don't need to have rules about hay rides. I mean, oh my gosh, leave us the hell alone already. I mean, how many people are going to get sick on a hay ride? But he's just like totally immersed in this. This is his new role. It's not leading the state. It's not helping rebuild the economy. It's not getting jobs back. It's not getting kids back in school. It's not allowing businesses to reopen or to survive. No, it's just this willy-nilly, arbitrary, let's pick some more categories. Why don't we have some rules about going out for a walk? Well, going out for a walk, if you live in a community of more than 25,000, here's the social distancing that you must, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, it really is. And here's the thing. I want to clarify for everybody why this is not going to make a difference. All right. Why Cuomo's sending this SWAT team to this school with their contact tracers and their case investigators and all of this, why this isn't going to make a difference? Because the school already shut down. The school shut down for a mandatory minimum of 2 weeks to prevent any further spread. So the idea that the state is going to then send in a SWAT team and all these other people is really a moot point because the whole school is basically self-quarantining for the next 14 days. So this is just a power trip. This is media trick. It just a waste of resources to make it look like, yeah, something's going on and we need to do, more, and we are doing something. It's just to pretend that something's happening. And but what I found was pretty interesting is they reiterated what the COVID guidelines are for the campuses. And within a 2-week period, if a school has 5% tests they're positive for COVID, or 100 individuals that test positive for COVID, that's when they go into that 2-week quarantine with all online classes, the whole everything, and then the health department determines whether or not they can reopen. So here's the thing. What about schools that have tens of thousands of students? 100 cases is way less than 5%.
Right.
Yet they're going to shut down the whole campus because of that? It's just, it
just
just goes to show.
They're arbitrary. I mean, the 5%, I would submit to you, the 5% has no basis in science or in fact.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. There's just no way. They just came up with a number. And I think we talked about this, maybe it was Monday, I think. We talked about how if they actually had real numbers backed by science, it would make sense. They could say something like, yeah, we did these infectious disease studies, and we found that once 3% of the population gets something, it spreads at an exponentially higher rate or something like that. There is science out there that they could actually look at and discover and tell us truthfully what those numbers are.
Yeah, I got a text here, by the way. Where's the SWAT team for the rioters in New York City?
Yeah, isn't that a question? Well, funny you should bring that up because we're going to take a break. When we come back, there's a new poll by the Manhattan Institute that talks about nearly half of New York City thinks it's headed in the wrong direction. So I'm going to tell you guys about that poll. There's some interesting numbers in here I want to share with you guys. We'll talk about that and more on Radio Free New York.
Now, more than twice the power.
WYSL.
More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center. For tonight, we'll see clearing skies. We'll drop back into the 60s. On your Thursday, we're looking at some generally fair weather. Some sun and clouds, a bit of a breeze. We'll be in the 70s, low 80s on Friday. Sun and clouds in the 70s. Right now, we're looking ahead to the start of the holiday weekend. We should have generally fair weather in the 70s Saturday, 80s on Sunday. I'm Rich Cadelia on WYSL.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Hello, I'm Alan Ginsberg of the A.M. Ginsberg Advisory Group. Hope you're coping well with the changes we've all had to make in day-to-day living during these crazy times. So, now that you've done all your projects, cooked every new recipe you have, and made your YouTube videos, ask yourself, are your financial plans and investments working in today's world? Is your family secure if you die or become disabled? Are the wills you made 10 or 20 years ago still valid today? Now may be the time to evaluate where you are financially and review your estate planning as well. We're available for appointments by phone or Zoom meeting, or we can meet in my office with CDC compliant procedures. Please give us a call, 585-377-4720, or check out our website at amginsbergadvisorygroup.com.
Securities offered through Securities America, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Securities America Advisors, Inc., A.M. Ginsberg Advisory Group, and the Securities America companies are separate entities. Geneseo Hardware and Rental has a new expanded location on Route 28, east of the village of Geneseo. Over 6,000 square feet with a large selection of plumbing, electrical, home and garden, and much more. Geneseo Hardware offers Valspar paint, a wide selection of rental items, plus screen and window repair. Get personalized service at the new, bigger location. Geneseo Hardware and Rental, Route 28 next to Wegmans Plaza. Visit geneseo-rental.com.
Take it. How's that? Terrific, man. Hold on. Hello.
Honey, it's getting colder. Do we know anyone with a furnace tune-up deal?
What am I gonna do, brother? Get that furnace tune-up from Taylor Heating. Their experts will make sure your furnace will keep singing all through the heating season. Just call 500-HELP. 500-HELP? Now that's a hot number. I think I'm really getting it, man.
Call Taylor. 500-HELP.
Music, the universal language of all living beings. Why does music move us to joy or to tears? Experience what artists, producers, and engineers wanted you to hear. Audio Renaissance celebrates 10 years in business, with an owner having 5 decades of experience. Check out the large selection of new and pre-owned equipment. Audio Renaissance, West Henrietta Road, south of Marketplace Mall. Visit audiorenaissancerochester.com.
This is Reverend David Kilgore, pastor of Lima Presbyterian Church. You may have heard that there was a fire at our church a couple of Sundays ago. So the question is, did an arsonist try to burn our church down? Or is the Holy Spirit trying to light a fire under our pants? You might want to find out. Tune in to WYSL on Sunday at 10:30 for our broadcast. Or you might want to look us up on the web at limapreschurch.org. Thank you, and God bless you.
Scotty's Detail Auto Body is open for collision, dents, paint, and detail needs. Remember, it's the collision shop of your choice when the need arises. Pickup and delivery available. Call 226-6120. Scotty's Detail Auto Body, Avon.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and I've got this poll taken by the Manhattan Institute, and finds that almost half of the people in New York City think it's headed in the wrong direction.
Yeah, the bad news about that is the other half think it's great. The other half think that it hasn't gone far enough in the new direction. So that's the problem.
Yeah. So it's kind of like this interesting thing, right? That's not quite half yet. It says they have here that 46% of the population in New York City, this is all 5 boroughs, and they said it was almost perfectly split across all 5 boroughs, that 46% are saying, yeah, New York City's going the right way. That's going in the right direction. While another 42% say, nope, we're headed in the wrong direction.
Isn't that mind-blowing to you? It is to me. How more than 1/1000th of 1% could think that New York City was in a good place right now is astonishing.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that it certainly surprises you. But I gotta say, I think these numbers are probably higher than normal. You know, if you were to look at, say, like the gubernatorial election, I think a lot of New York City was, not a lot, but an overwhelming majority of New York City was kind of on the same page. Whereas now they're seeing government response to COVID. They're seeing what's happening. They're seeing their shops being shut down. I saw this picture of what I guess was a McDonald's. I couldn't even tell that it was a McDonald's. It was like boarded up, graffiti all over it, just like trash everywhere. And they were like, yeah, this was a McDonald's like just a few months ago.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the one. There's a lot of McDonald's in Manhattan, but I know the big one that operates 24 hours a day in Times Square is closed.
Yeah. And Times Square was probably one of the most busy places maybe in the United States. I don't know. You know, it's very, very busy place. A lot of people in and out, a lot of tourism.
It's unbelievable. I don't know if you've been down there, in recent years, but it's this huge up to now, it has been this huge tourist attraction where it's actually, you're walking along 7th Avenue there. It's difficult to get through there. You kind of have to, shoulder your way through and make your way in between. There's these photo op points where people are taking pictures. Excuse me. And you just kind of have to navigate around all these people who are taking selfies, taking pictures of family. I mean, it was jamming and really cool in so many ways with all the various different stores there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I look at that and I go, wow, this picture that I'm looking at it looks like a third world country. Is what it looks like. Yeah. And that's it's a McDonald's in New York City.
Well, this is why you got bike lanes now. Where everywhere you go in New York State, you got the liberals have decreed that bicycles have the same access to roads and intermingle with motorized transportation that's going 4 times the speed of the bicycles, because they want everybody to slow down. And what they basically want is American cities to look like Mumbai. Where you got people in bicycles with straw hats, with little jingle bells going. What's next? Ox carts? If the liberals have their way, that's what our cities will look like. Filthy, overcrowded. Everybody works where they live, and And meanwhile, the countryside is owned by the elites.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's certainly what is happening, and especially when we talked about, I think once again on Monday we talked about how people are fleeing New York City like crazy right now. Like the sales in the suburban counties outside of New York City are up in some cases over 100%. Sales in Manhattan are down. I think it was either 48 or 50%. Like yeah, that's happening. So here's the interesting thing about this study. So only 42% of the people in New York City think that they're heading in the wrong direction. But when they asked everybody, well, what's your biggest worry about New York City right now? Once again, this is the 5 boroughs. This is where this poll was done. 22%, which is the highest percentage here, say the economy is the number one worry on their mind. And before I go on to the next one, I want to remind everybody that the economy would be booming right now, not for any other reason other than not COVID, but the government's response to COVID is the only reason that people would be worrying about the economy right now.
Yes. Yeah, the government is imposing the misery on people.
Yeah.
The shutdown is creating far more mischief and more trouble and more death and more illness and more destruction than the stupid virus, which is dissipating rapidly.
Yeah.
I mean, in states like Texas, hospitalizations are down 87%. In the Southwest, New Mexico, Arizona, similar gigantic drops in the incidence of cases. This thing is over. What we need to do is open up the economy, let people get back to work, back to school, and to allow freedoms to be reestablished. But you notice that the government elites and their lapdogs in the media are pushing this new normal notion because they want people to believe that from now on, from this point forward, we're always going to be walking around in masks and government's going to be able to tell us what we can do and when. It's got to stop. And, I don't want to go too far here. This is your show.
No, that's fine. So guess what number 2 is, Bob? Just a percentage left, or a percentage less. 21% of the people in New York City say, what do you think is their next number one concern besides the economy?
In New York City, I don't know. You tell me.
Crime.
Well, yeah, that's terrible. 175% increase in shootings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the things that we've been talking about quite a bit here on this show: economy, crime. Yep, the people in New York City. That's making up the top 2 items that they're most concerned about. Then they've got 2 more.
Before you move on, this is a little confusing because aren't these the people who want to defund police?
Well, it's interesting. So they actually talk about that. We could skip just a little bit ahead to that, because they did do a survey or a part of this poll. They did ask about the police approval rating. 53% approve of the police, 40% don't. So what interesting there.
Yeah, what this says to me is it depends on how you ask the question. So that's why you have these seeming inconsistencies. Because I'm sure that there's some figure that matches that in terms of, do you think that we should defund the police? Sorry about the squeaking headphones here. I don't know what's going on. But these polls, you can just say anything you want to in a poll, I guess.
Yep.
That's what it comes down to.
So
I mean, Joe Biden is still leading President Trump, although by a narrowing margin. And I just want to point out, by the way, not to change the subject real quick, but as long as we're talking about it, isn't it interesting how the presidential polls have stopped?
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
What? When was the last one you heard about? Huh?
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Yeah. Well, you know that screaming from every, tree-hugging tree top, that the left would be saying that, Biden is trouncing Trump in polls if they were favorable to Biden. So I guess what we're doing is we're just suppressing that because we don't want to hear that.
Yeah, no, that's true. So they also asked about de Blasio's favorability rating and Cuomo's favorability rating. De Blasio only has a 45% approval rating.
What?
Yeah, it's that high, surprisingly. Um, with 46% saying they disapprove of him. So that'll be interesting. I don't know if anybody's running against him when he's up for election, but that seems like there's a possibility he may lose that position. I don't know. I couldn't even tell you when that election's going to happen.
I'm astounded that de Blasio has a 45% approval rating.
Yeah.
That tells you everything you need to know about that poll.
Oh, yeah. Well, this next one, I hope you're sitting down for, Bob, because
here it comes.
Here it comes. Governor Cuomo, according to this poll, in New York City, the 5 boroughs of New York City, has a 73% approval rating.
Yeah, he does.
His response to COVID.
He has been very muscularly promoted by the national media about his COVID response. Yeah. And among liberals, he has a huge approval rating. Among
He's writing a book about it.
Yeah, exactly. Among non-liberals, his approval rating is like absolute 0.
Yeah, no, for sure. So guys, you are listening to Radio Free New York. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the SAT and ACT scores in California. Court case just wrapped up. Could impact us here in New York at some point in time. So we'll talk about that in a moment when we come back on Radio Free New York.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we're better together, and together, we're moving business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. I want to give you guys a shout out here in the live stream. I see you guys are putting in some comments. So I just want to thank you guys for listening. I see we've got Steven in here, Garrett, Drew, Tim, Nathan, Jay. Guys, thanks so much for participating in the show. I see a bunch of you guys are in there. Interesting. Nathan on YouTube mentions that the RAs are also threatening to strike over at SUNY Anyada. So kind of interesting thing there. I would definitely be interested in hearing a little bit more about that because yeah, there's just a lot going on, guys.
Isn't it great how the government handling of COVID is producing so much peace and harmony? Everybody's just getting along so much better, and where it's not like the issues are multiplying or anything.
Yeah. No, if you looked at the beginning of 2020 and thought that government would be the solution to virtually any problem, I hope that you're kind of reconsidering that point of view and thinking that, wow, I've watched government be totally in charge for what, close to 7 months now? And things are not getting more peaceful. The economy is not exploding with jobs. Homelessness isn't getting fixed, and a whole bunch of other things. Healthcare isn't getting any better. Crime's not getting any better. If you think total government control or more government control is the answer to our issues, I'm going to point to the year 2020 and say, guys, we've got fact and proof right here. It does not make things better.
The amazing thing about this is how well things are going in spite of the government trampling on our rights and keeping the economy throttled back artificially for no good reason. I mean, August was an incredible month for your investments. What the stock market did and everything else. People are loving their 401ks.
Yeah. Well, and we need to give a little bit of credit to the things that nobody gets a chance to see, which is, despite government overreach and government restrictions, the black market is out there thriving very well. And that's where people are going for their income, and that's where they're going to shop, and that's where they're going to spend their money, because while government's shutting stuff down, people are still finding ways around the government to spend their money, to make their money, to get the products that they need. It's happening. So government control can only go so far. People will still find a way.
Vitally important for you to get out and vote. Vitally important, because there's going to be massive voter fraud going on. The Democrats are going to be using this mail-in ballot thing to try to delay a decisive outcome to the election. That. Was it 44% of Democrats plan to vote by mail, whereas 10% of Republicans will vote in person, or will vote by mail, and all the rest of them will vote in person. So you know what that's going to mean. All the Democrats are going to mail their ballots in on Election Day, and you're going to have massive rejection of a lot of these mail-in ballots. So they're going to try to cast, any victory by Trump in doubt.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's absolutely going to happen. I think that with everything that's happened this year, we can't expect anything different. We can't expect. Politics has been so bad. The government response to coronavirus has made it even worse. Those two sides, the right and the left, they got along okay for about 6.5 days in the beginning of coronavirus when they thought this was going to be really serious. And then once they realized that they could use the rest for control and political gain, the machines just spun right up again, and they just started going after each other. And everything since then has really been just political gain for the wealthy elites, rules that apply to us but not them, and everything in between. And that's why they're pushing the COVID test results so hard, because it's going to be such a hard grab for money from the federal government, state by state, where they say, well, we had more cases, so we need more funds. And they're using that as the excuse to cover up their awful budgeting, the deficits that they've had, the debt that they've ran this state and other states into. they're going to try to blame it on COVID. These problems existed way before COVID did. And it wasn't COVID's fault. It was the government's response that created this,
Did
not
you
the
see,
virus itself.
speaking of Andy Cuomo, did you see he's demanding that the federal government give him $59 billion?
Wow.
Yeah. And he's already divvied that up, by the way. He knows how he's going to spend it.
I'm sure he does.
$30 billion of the $59 billion goes to state government. Oh, that's great. Yeah, let's make sure that we, fritter away more money through the state. And then I think like $15 billion goes to New York City because there's a lot of Democrats down there. So, we got to have our tribal politic payback. And I think that upstate New York, the town and local, local and county governments get $5 billion. Out of $59 billion, the counties get $5 billion.
Well,
62 counties.
That $30 billion that you mentioned, I mean, that's a very important number because that's pretty close to the deficit that New York State was running.
Isn't that amazing?
Isn't that convenient?
Except for if you talk to Andy and his clowns, they say it's $9.5 billion, which I don't think anybody,
really?
I don't think that Alfie the sheepdog believes that.
No, I don't think so, because Cuomo himself said it was $15 billion a few months ago. Where'd all the money come from? It didn't come from anywhere. The money doesn't even exist.
Interesting point that you make there, because the truth of the matter is, actually, these blue states, I mean, they're doing pretty well. The stock market is up, so their pension investments and everything else are doing great. Their tax receipts are doing surprisingly well, not as well as they would if they would open up the economy in their states, because you people are a bunch of dummies. But really, don't cry any tears for the blue states, because they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, and once again, that's to the credit of the hard-working people who get up and go to work every day and provide a product or a service that generates tax revenue that the government then takes out of their paychecks. And I think that someday it would be really cool to put all these elected officials through a year in our shoes, where they have to get up and work an actual job and have a boss who could just fire them for not being good at their job.
Well, the problem would be they'd be fired on day 2. So.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Then we'd have to make them try. Then part of that study would be they'd then have to try to actually get a job in this economy with their limited skills, and they're it would just be hilarious. I'd love to see the daily YouTube episode on that, of just Andrew Cuomo sitting there in New York City saying yeah, I don't have any marketable skills. I never really did any thing in business before. I don't even know how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. How am I going to get by? Just I don't know. It would be interesting for sure. So, but they will just continue to live off of our paycheck and our tax dollars. That's how it's going to be.
Well, I mean, what you got to do is you got to decide what your red line is going to be, that you're not going to let them step over. You're going to have to set limits on what you're going to allow government to do, and then you're going to have to be willing to pay whatever cost it is to affect change.
Yeah.
Sorry to tell you this, but I mean, war is hell, as we indicated early in the show.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That can't. That resonates for sure. So, guys, I know I mentioned that we're going to talk about SAT and ACT tests in California, and we do not have enough time to do that today. So maybe tomorrow I'll pass this along to Kevin. Maybe Kevin will pick it up. If not, we'll talk about it next week. But there's some interesting things going on that could change how colleges can and cannot accept students for admission anymore. Give you a hint, it's got to do with being less privileged and disabled. So there's my teaser. Don't know when it's coming up. We'll talk about it, though. Thank you so much for joining me on Radio Free New York.